it's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater with Her Success Story. So this week is really exciting. It's the first time we're doing an actual panel discussion. And what I've brought together is a bunch of really interesting, dynamic women business owners who've been in business a culmination of, I'm going to say, 30, 40 plus years. There's women who have had experience. They're smart. They're savvy. They are working women. They're moms, grandmas, women who've really made a change and a difference. So let me introduce you to, today we have Shari Sugarman from
Sugarman Law.
And tell me one sentence about Sugarman Law.
Sugarman Law is a transactional and commercial litigation firm located out in Suffolk County, Long Island.
Awesome. Amy Andersson of Price Turner. Go ahead.
Price Turner CFOs. And we provide the outsourced financial transactional accounting for small and medium-sized businesses.
Awesome. Sonya Weisshappel is joining us from New York City as well, and she is the president and CEO of Seriatim.
And we handle dealing with people's life possessions, organizing what they have, and figuring out what should be insured, donated, or sold as they go through a life transition from marriage, death, and divorce.
Awesome. We also have Kathy D'Agostino coming into us from Westchester, New York. And Kathy is president of Win at Business Coaching. Tell us a little bit about how you affect businesses.
So my business is a coaching consulting organization that really helps companies create a better work culture for their employees. And I like to think that employees like to come to work a little happier on Monday morning and every morning when they work for these companies.
So what I love about Kathy is she's a specialist in culture, and it's really making an impact company culture in this day and age. She just actually ran a whole seminar around the harassment issue and how we can actually start eliminating what the nonsense going on out there that many of us have lived through by actually looking at culture as number one. So in this dynamic panel we put together today, Shari, share with me one of the cool things about how you got started. I remember when we first met, you got started, you're an attorney, and you were on a kitchen table with James, your little boy, at your feet. And now you're running a major company. You have grown, you have paralegals and other attorneys working for you. How did it go from a baby on the hip and a brief on the kitchen table to this?
Well, I had previously worked for several large litigation firms before I had my son. And then when I had my son, I said, oh, I want to stay home. And then 2 months later, I was like, I don't want to stay home any longer. This is not who I am. So I started taking small clients that I could meet elsewhere. And then eventually, by the time my son was in kindergarten and in preschool and kindergarten, I was able to then go part-time and then full-time. I worked from my kitchen table all the way. Now I have a 2,000 square foot office. And as Ivy said, I have many staff working for me.
Yeah, and I think it's always so interesting and it's very cool because this is not just our first panel, but these are all really accomplished women who also all have children at different stages of life. So Shari's a young man, her son is graduating middle school, and he has a big accomplishment, Mom, coming up. Where's he going to high school next year?
He's going to St. Anthony's.
So just like honing in here a second on mindset. So what were one of your core goals in building out your practice as far as being a mom?
Well, years ago, it was, obviously it's changed through the years, but my first goal was when I identified that my son was not happy in the public school district, I had to find a way to put him in, a private school where he could, get the education that he really deserved. I had always planned on putting him in private school for high school, but when it came clear to me that it wasn't a good fit for him when he was in middle school, I had to step up my game. So Ivy helped me identify the numbers, what I needed to do in order to make that goal happen. A couple of extra clients here, do a little bit more work here. Husband works in overtime, and voila, we were able to put him in the right school for him, and he's succeeded tremendously.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. It puts to light what women do and how our drive behind our businesses, our drive behind many of us. So, Sonya, you've been in business how long?
Since 1993.
Woo!
I incorporated in 1999 when I hired my first employee. So that's 19 years, 23, 24 years, whatever you want to call it. A long time.
Well, I'm going to say it's 24 years, because I actually became a business owner. I became a partner in the first firm I was a partner in 93 when my daughter was a year old, and she was born in 92. So I can help you out there.
Good. Okay, there you go.
So you've come a long way growing this business. What and ladies, God's honest truth here. Our listeners want to hear facts and not fantasy stories. And some of an interesting challenge, like what was one of the biggest challenges? You're also a mom. Your daughter is now
13. 13 and
less 13.
Less 13.
Less than 13.
And the 6 weeks before I knew I was pregnant, I lost my lease in my office space down in Chinatown. And it was one of those mixed blessings where you're upset and then you realize, oh, I'm pregnant. I need to do it differently anyway. So one of the big challenges came from learning not to resist the challenges that come. The things that feel like a disaster or a problem actually are opportunities in disguise. And that never ceases to amaze me, how often they appear, but they are changes for the future, sometimes ahead of schedule, but what one needs to do.
So I think that's a great point, that opportunities come as challenges. So, we get this big present that's like almost wrapped in black is a huge challenge. And we open it up, and are we willing to see the colors inside? Kathy, do you have an example of when that has occurred for you? Something, something that you kind of was stopped dead at, that challenge that then turned into an opportunity for you? I know you've had a few.
Gosh, that's what I was going to say. There's definitely been several along the way. I think one of the things, I come from a sales background, and I've been a sales manager. I've won awards myself, and I think one of the challenges were learning how to sell in my own business and learning how to sell myself. I've sold airspace and tangibles and intangibles, but I think really representing yourself and looking at how you sell yourself has been a challenge that I've had to look at from a couple different perspectives. That outside view of having a business coach or having somebody else help you look at it, that 360-degree view has helped me overcome those challenges. And I think in business, we're always going to see those. And as Sonya said, can we look at them for opportunities and challenges and then see where they take us, and being open to recognizing that sometimes our way, isn't the path that we exactly designed, but we have to have that path. And then we are open enough and flexible enough to go where we see the opportunity.
So I love what you're saying. And because you're the expert in core values here, where do you see core values coming into play, and the importance of knowing your core value coming into play and being able to see when opportunity versus challenge presents itself?
That's an interesting one. I'll share a client experience with that. And that's oftentimes where clients will call me in because they're having that challenge. And so when two business partners or co-founders are on different pages and they haven't had the conversation, oftentimes it's easy for us to combine a couple businesses and say, oh, we kind of align, or it sort of seems like the businesses fit, and yet not have those difficult conversations about what are our values and what's our vision for the company. And when companies really don't do that, partners start drifting away, and it really takes away from the profitability of the company because they're not on the same page. So when they have values, what do? What do they represent? Decisions. Roy E. Disney says, when we truly know what our values are, all decisions become easier. So when we can make those decisions based on values, and we know what our own personal values are, we start with our own leadership values. We can't lead others if we can't lead our own lives. So being in my own business, I've had to re-examine my own values, and I've always relied on them a lot, but I think they've taken it to another level. And I love being able to help other business owners to really look at their own personal values, and then how do they align, and how are they different in organizations, and how do we put those two together and make the company grow.
One thing that really resonates in what you said is when you said Roy Disney, who I'm a huge fan of. Just have to tell you, I got at the age 16, I got 3 shares of Disney stock as for my Sweet 16 that I still own and has multiplied. So he's made a big impact, and I'm a huge follower of him. One thing is when you reference the values and the decision making and the importance of that, really hits home for me personally. When I was partners with a few guys, there was 4 of us who were partners together, and it was so clear when our values started becoming out of alignment and how quickly the partnership dissolved. So I'm really glad you said that, because I on a personal level, I can endorse it because it is so true. Amy, you've been in business 6 years now?
6 years.
And before that, you've been a CFO for Fortune,
100.
Fortune 100 companies for 20 some odd years.
Correct.
So in your vast knowledge of working with hundreds of people, in many different aspects, what is something that surprised you in this journey? Something that has come of, like, I always say, I think about that Jack in the Box is like, whoa, I didn't see that one coming.
As a person who grew up in the, always going to work for a corporation, for the man, being on my own where every decision is the business owners, I think that was the big Jack in the Box. And not, that the decisions, good, bad, or indifferent, were fine. And I think the best thing is not only is to make a decision. Don't be staying in that same rut, not making a decision. Make the decision and then move on with that decision. Because inaction is no action. So taking that action every single day towards your business is the biggest Jack in the Box for me.
I like that, and I think that's actually in the alignment. If we, as long as Kathy brought up Roy Disney, and I'm a Disney fan, I'm going to run with this for a second. If we think about the decisions Disney made in the early years of actually saying yes and making a decision about an animated mouse, and a $1 billion organization has been built on a decision he made about an animated mouse, I think there's a huge something to be learned from that. So I think this is all really just interesting as how we all see it. Welcome to New York. You could hear those sirens in the background. Since we have an all-women panel going here, and we have all women who have built businesses, worked for others at times in various ways, what's a little piece of advice for the woman? How do we as women do it all? Amy, I see you're jumping at the bit. Go for it.
understand your value. We as women, I believe, really underestimate our abilities, underestimate our confidence. So really know your value and know your confidence, or show your confidence rather than know it. Show your confidence and know your value.
Shari.
My biggest one is delegate. Do what you do best and let the other people do what they do best. You don't go to a podiatrist if you have a brain tumor. If I bill out at a certain amount of time, how long is it going to be? If I need to hire a house cleaner to do that, then I can bill out better at my office. Or if you need a bookkeeper, that was actually my biggest aha moment when I started working with Ivy. I was realizing that my business was growing, and it got to the point where I was literally spending 2 and 3 hours a day just on bookkeeping and invoicing and this, that, and the other thing. So Ivy and I said it almost at the same time, I need a bookkeeper. So I hired a bookkeeper, and I haven't looked back. It's so much easier, but I learned how to delegate. It's not easy.
And when I think about delegation, I think about my family always laughs at me because I become intimate friends with my dry cleaners. Okay, I know everybody's sitting here. You have to see the faces around here because everybody's laughing at me. But I'm not kidding. I pick up. When we lived and we were raising my kids, I knew my dry cleaner. Our daughters ended up going. He lived outside New York City. I lived outside New York City. I knew where his daughter went to college. He knew where my daughter went to college. I'm a businesswoman. I need my clothes, especially I'm speaking several times. I'm here at this corporate meeting or this networking. I need to look professional. If I'm spending my time hand washing my clothes and ironing them,
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Now my husband needed a suit for a wedding. And he goes, oh, Ivy, can you get it to the dry cleaners while I get it back in time? And I walk out of the building with my husband in the morning, and I call, and he hears the conversation because Josh, my dry cleaner, picks up, Ivy, good morning. How are you today? I'm like, Josh, how's it going? How's your week been? Can my husband get this suit dry cleaned at, for a wedding we have this weekend? And my husband's standing out there in front of our apartment building with his mouth hanging open. He goes, that's how you talk, I was like, absolutely. He's part of who I delegate to. So whether when we're looking at bookkeepers, we're looking at people who help you clean your home. If it looks at your dry cleaner, it looks at your paralegals bringing on assistants. Delegation brings you more money, not less. Sonya, as a working woman, what do you have to say?
Delegation is key. Delegation, like Amy said, is you have to own your confidence and learn that, and figuring out what to delegate when is an obstacle course, because some years you think you can handle it and then you realize, like was said with the bookkeeping piece, that you can't handle it anymore, or you shouldn't be handling it. Or for myself, I'm not a great writer, and the whole reason I started the company was because I couldn't write a resume, so I started a company instead. And so you kind of realize that that's not my strength, so I'm going to hire someone who can do that. And so you just have to know who you are and figure out what you bring this world and foster that.
Kathy, as a working woman, so you have grown kids. One of what's really awesome about this group of women is one of the key core values of this group of women is travel. And Kathy, is like, oh, she's here or there. And everyone in this group that's sharing their stories a little bit today is one of their main things they dedicate their passion, and it's on a high priority, is their travel. So in raising children, in being a working mother, in building a company, you've been there to babysit everything from grandchildren to grand dogs. I know. What are your thoughts on women? Like what's the one thing we should know at this point?
So I think one of the things to know is, as a woman business owner, you're going to be a lot of times in a room with all men, or, maybe 30, 40 men in a room, and you walk in and there might be one other woman in there with you. And so to answer the first part of the question about, learning how to do that with children, it wasn't an opportunity as much back then. I was home-based and I took every job that really managed to do the children. But now that my children are out of the home and I have total freedom, it's being able to be in the groups and be in meetings early in the morning where I'm going to be in a group with a lot of men. And to me, there isn't a glass ceiling as much when you're a business owner, because you can just say, I make that ceiling. I make it to be what it is. And I don't see men or women gender specific so much in the room. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to be a business owner just like they are. And having worked in corporate, I worked for a lot of men, and some were awesome and great. And I've had bosses that were women too, that, some were good and some weren't. So I think not defining one specific gender as I'm going to be more intimidated by them, or I'm going to have to muscle through it. Just being a part of that group of business owners, as a business owner and a CEO or a president, and not thinking about, do I look different than everybody else, but just to be on the same page with them and stand in my power and just be who I am and allow them to be who they are. And, at the end of the day, we're all humans. And I think when I look at it that way, I can appreciate them as business owners, and I learn from them, and I can appreciate who I am. So, who I've become, I should say, and who I've become. You do. It is a process of becoming a whole, taking yourself to a new level.
Yeah, we all do evolve. Evolution is a given, and I think all the women you're hearing today is none of us, and I'll throw myself right in here, are where we are. We didn't start out where we were today. We didn't start out, and Kathy, one thing that's resonating hugely in what you just said is you walk into a room and it might be a majority, 3/4 men, and you don't see a difference. You are equal. Your value is equal. You own it. And, ladies who are listening, it's a choice. There's some back end work that gets you there, without a doubt, of stepping into the room and considering, like Amy was saying, owning your value and seeing yourself as valuable.
Yeah, and owning that impact. I always, I walk into a room, and regardless who's there, I want to leave the room better, and the people that I met that day a little bit better, and I hope to do that. And that's really a goal, is if I can do that and provide value, as Amy said, and just make the room a little better because I'd been there, then to me, it's a success.
So Kathy, share with our audience, where could they find out more information about Kathy D'Agostino?
So my company is Win It Business Coaching, WINAT, businesscoaching.com. And feel free to reach out and take the free core values assessment and learn a little bit more about your own leadership values.
You definitely don't want to miss out on that values assessment. It's a game changer for all of us. Sonya, Miss Seriatim, parting words, and where can our audience find out more about you and Seriatim and the difference you've made in our communities?
I think organization, just like finding yourself, is something that evolves, and things are important one day and may not be in the next. So it's a constantly changing, and Seriatim is reachable by phone at 212-877-3267 or our website, Seriatim, SERIATIM.net.
Awesome. Amy Andersson, Price Turner CFOs. What is the one difference? What's the one takeaway you would like everybody to know?
I'm going to repeat what Shari said, which is delegate. CEOs went into business for a purpose, and they've got a passion to do their business, to sell their product or their service. So delegate and outsource the other things. Your business will grow because of it. You can find more about Price Turner CFOs at priceturnercfos.com, and you can download a guide to your financial statement there, and also just connect with me on that site.
Awesome. Shari Sugarman, Miss Delegator. I love it when our attorneys come on and they're so clear because they understand what billable hours result in and how it scales. Parting gifts and words to our audience.
Actually, I think one of the things, last thing I'd like to say is you got to trust yourself also. Amy had mentioned, no action is inaction. So trust what your gut is telling you, because 99% of the time it's right. I've made a few mistakes in the past, and it was always because I didn't trust myself to make that decision, or I didn't trust myself with that decision. It's pretty much it.
How do we connect with Sugarman Law?
You can go on my website at sugarmanlawpc.com. The one without the PC is a firm up in Buffalo. That's not me.
So sugarmanlawpc.com. Check out Shari Sugarman, Amy Andersson, Sonya Weisshappel, and Kathy D'Agostino. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Ivy.
this was a blast. See you all in the near future.